Hi everybody. I am going to take you through my inquiry-based lesson plan. So to start off, here is the introduction on my teacher website. It tells you a little bit about who I am. Now if we scroll down, we are going to click on introduction, and we will be starting our lesson. So the grade level I chose to do was second grade, and for this assignment, the students will be learning how to write a recipe, how to create a recipe, what goes into a recipe, and so on and so forth. To get the students engaged, I made a little story for them to read so that they can get their ideas flowing. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. So the title of this lesson is I Can Be a Chef, Can You? And here we go. At home, Miss Funny has a large box of delicious recipes she enjoys to make. One day, when looking for her famous banana bread recipe, Miss Funny came across an unfamiliar recipe. However, this recipe did not include food of any sorts. This recipe read, "Packing for a Trip," and included all the ingredients needed when and if going on a vacation and step-by-step directions on how to pack a suitcase so that all the items will fit. After reading this strange recipe, she realized that a recipe can be written for just about anything. Now it's your job to create a recipe. Think about an activity, a job, a sports, etc. that you are expert at and what ingredients you will need to make for a great recipe. So put on those chef's hats and let's get cooking. So that's a little bit about what we are going to do. They're going to learn how to make their own recipe. So if we continue on and go on to tasks, this will give you directions on what we're going to be doing. So for this assignment, you'll be working individually to create your own recipe. In order to do this, we'll be looking at recipe examples through technology, magazines, and cookbooks that I will bring from home. We will also be practicing how to write a recipe before we do our final assignment. This class will have 4 days to design their own recipe. On the last day, each student will share their recipe to their table and group. So that's a little bit about what they'll be doing. So if we go down to process, this is kind of just a step-by-step directions on kind of what we'll be doing. So like step 1, to build their schemas, I will begin by asking them questions and building on their prior knowledge about what they think a recipe is, and then I'll read a few recipes to the class. And then from there, the students will be asked to begin browsing additional examples of recipes on technology or examples I brought from home. They can either work individually or in groups of 2. Step 3, class will meet back at the board and we will collaborate ideas as to what goes into a recipe, and we'll also do an example together on the board so they kind of get a better understanding on how to do a recipe and what goes in there. And then step 4, students will then be given independent time to design a topic for the recipe and begin writing the ingredients needed for the recipe. Then they'll start writing the instructions that go with it, and I will also just give them class time. So maybe 2 to 3 class days to work on it. So I feel like that's plenty enough time. And then they will finish up the recipe. They'll give it a little bit of time to finish up the recipe before they present to their table that they sit at, and then finally they'll turn in their recipes. So if we continue on to information and resources, so I integrated technology into this assignment, so they can either bring their own devices from home, or they can use iPads with that are used from the school to look up different recipes. And here's the site. It's called Kids House, so it has recipes for kids. It basically just is a breakdown of what goes into a recipe so they can look at many to just get a better idea. So I think that is just one that I used for that. And then let's go ahead to evaluation. So here's just a rubric of kind of what is needed for their recipe and kind of what goes in there. So content organization, transitions, grammar and spelling, and neatness. And it'll kind of just, they can grade themselves on their recipe that they'll do. And then conclusion, this is basically that goes after the project and kind of just reflects on what they've learned. So I'll go ahead and read it for you. It says, "Great job, class. You are now professional chefs. Each of you had a unique recipe and did a fabulous job at presenting your recipes to your classmates. Give yourself a pat on the back. To recap, you learned how to write a recipe and saw and understood that a recipe can be written for just about anything. You also showed that you were able to work in groups and individually to receive a final product. Lastly, you became an expert on your recipe topic and can share your recipe with anyone. Again, let's get cooking." It's kind of just a breakdown of what they've learned after the assignment. We'll continue on. This is just notes to teacher, kind of after the assignment, how well it did. So again, this was focused on second grade. They'll get about 4 days to complete the task. Bring your own devices or iPads, so technology was integrated in the assignment. They also did design and develop digital age learning experience and assessments that was incorporated by building on students' knowledge and using technology to guide their learning. Acknowledgements, none really, and reflections that should be done once I completed the task for when I become a teacher. So yeah, that is my inquiry-based lesson plan. I'm super excited to be a teacher, and yeah, thank you for watching.